Which of the following best describes the primary purpose of the General Insurance Code of Practice 2020? A. To regulate the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority's oversight of insurance markets. B. To ensure service suppliers are licensed and accredited. C. To commit insurers and their service suppliers to high standards of customer service and accountability. D. To provide legal remedies for customers in contractual disputes. The correct answer is C. To commit insurers and their service suppliers to high standards of customer service and accountability. Explanation. The GISERV 2020 aims to promote better service standards in the insurance industry. It establishes a set of customer-focused obligations for insurers and their agents, including service suppliers, ensuring that customers are treated fairly, transparently, and respectfully. The code is voluntary but enforceable, complements legal requirements rather than replacing them. Under the GISERV 2020, when a service supplier performs work on behalf of a code subscriber, what is the nature of their legal relationship? A. The supplier is legally treated as a contractor and not accountable to the insurer. B. The supplier is considered an independent third party and outside the code's jurisdiction. C. The supplier is deemed to act on behalf of the insurer and shares responsibility for code compliance. D. The supplier only reports to the regulator, not the insurer. The correct answer is C. The supplier is deemed to act on behalf of the insurer and shares responsibility for code compliance. Explanation. Service suppliers are considered to be acting on behalf of the insurer and therefore must meet the same obligations under the GISERV. This ensures consistency in the quality and fairness of service provided to customers. Insurers remain accountable for the conduct of their suppliers and must ensure compliance. What is the role of the Code Governance Committee (CGC) under the General Insurance Code of Practice 2020? A. To provide legal representation to insurers in court. B. To audit and enforce compliance with the code and publish findings. C. To issue insurance policies to service suppliers. D. To supervise underwriting decisions made by insurers. The correct answer is B. To audit and enforce compliance with the code and publish findings. Explanation. The Code Governance Committee (CGC) is an independent body responsible for monitoring and enforcing compliance with the GISERV. It can investigate breaches, require corrective actions, and publish compliance reports. Its role is critical in maintaining industry accountability and consumer confidence. According to the GISERV, service suppliers must A. Only follow their own internal codes of conduct, regardless of the insurers. B. Avoid taking any action the insurer would be prohibited from doing under the code. C. Seek legal advice before acting on the insurer's behalf. D. Obtain customer consent before initiating any work on claim. The correct answer is B. Avoid taking any action the insurer would be prohibited from doing under the code. Explanation. Service suppliers must not engage in any conduct that would breach the code if done by the insurer directly. This means they must adhere to the same ethical and operational standards, such as fairness, timeliness, transparency, and respect in all dealings with customers. Why is it essential for service suppliers to use plain language in communications with customers? A. To meet advertising standards set by a SIC. B. To ensure customers fully understand their rights and services being provided. C. To reduce legal liability in contract disputes. D. To maintain consistent branding guidelines. The correct answer is B. To ensure customers fully understand their rights and services being provided. Explanation. Plain language helps customers make informed decisions and understand important details about services, timelines, and outcomes. Under the GISERV, using clear and simple communication is a key part of respecting customer rights and promoting transparency. Which of the following is not a principle outlined in the GISERV regarding how customers should be treated? A. Courtesy and respect. B. Cultural sensitivity. C. Promptness and fairness. D. Non-disclosure of service costs. The correct answer is D. Non-disclosure of service costs. Explanation. The GISERV requires insurers and service suppliers to be open, honest, and clear, including transparency about any service costs. The principle of non-disclosure would contradict the code's emphasis on customer clarity and fairness. If a service supplier delays a repair, what obligation do they have under the GISERV? A. No obligation if the customer has been informed once. B. They must notify the customer of the delay and provide a revised timeframe. C. They must cancel the job and refer the customer back to the insurer. D. They are only obligated to notify the insurer, not the customer. The correct answer is B. They must notify the customer of the delay and provide a revised timeframe. Explanation. Timely communication is a fundamental customer service expectation in the GICAP. If there are any delays in services like repairs or investigations, the service supplier must proactively inform the customer and provide updated expectations to manage trust and reduce frustration. A service supplier providing repair services must ensure A. Repairs are only conducted during business hours. B. All communication is directed through the insurer only. C. The customer is informed of the scope and timing of repairs in advance. D. Customers are required to sign a waiver of liability. The correct answer is C. The customer is informed of the scope and timing of repairs in advance. Explanation. Transparency is critical under the GICAP. Service suppliers must clearly communicate with customers about what the service will involve, when it will be done, and what they can expect as an outcome. This improves customer satisfaction and aligns with code principles. When it comes to shared accountability, what does the GICAP require between insurers and service suppliers? A. Insurers must provide annual performance bonuses to compliant suppliers. B. Suppliers must independently create their own code of conduct. C. Both parties are accountable for ensuring the customer experience meets the code. D. Suppliers are only accountable to regulators. The correct answer is C. Both parties are accountable for ensuring the customer experience meets the code. Explanation. The GICAP highlights that service suppliers and insurers share responsibility for the outcomes delivered to customers. Even though the service supplier performs the work, the insurer is ultimately responsible for ensuring the standards of the code are met in full. Which of the following examples would most likely violate the GICAP's requirement for treating customers with dignity and respect? A. Supplier uses an interpreter for non-English speaking client. B. Service supplier offers written updates during the claims process. C. Repair agent speaks impatiently and dismissively to vulnerable customer. D. An insurer provides translated documents for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. The correct answer is C. A repair agent speaks impatiently and dismissively to a vulnerable customer. Explanation. Treating customers with dignity and respect is a core expectation under the GICAP. Speaking dismissively, especially to a vulnerable customer, breaches the obligation of fairness, sensitivity, and respectful service that is expected from both insurers and their service suppliers. Under the General Insurance Code of Practice GICAP, which of the following would not typically be classified as a form of customer vulnerability? A. Financial hardship. B. Language barriers. B. Social media activity. D. Disability. The correct answer is B. Social media activity. Explanation. Vulnerability under the GICAP is defined broadly to include factors that may limit a customer's ability to engage with insurance services. This includes age, disability, mental health conditions, financial hardship, domestic or family violence, and language or literacy barriers. Social media activity is not a recognized vulnerability factor. If a service supplier identifies signs of vulnerability in a customer, what is the correct course of action under GICAP? A. Ignore unless the customer complains. B. Immediately escalate to the media. B. Adjust communication and notify the insurer if special care is needed. D. Discontinue service. The correct answer is B. Adjust communication and notify the insurer if special care is needed. Explanation. Service suppliers must be trained to identify signs of vulnerability. If vulnerability is suspected or known, they must take extra care, adapt communication methods, and escalate the situation to the insurer if special support is needed. Which of the following is an example of a situational vulnerability? A. A customer recovering from surgery. B. A customer with a permanent intellectual disability. C. A customer who speaks English as a second language. D. A customer experiencing domestic violence. The correct answer is A. A customer recovering from surgery. Explanation. Situational vulnerability is temporary and context-based. Examples include recent surgery, bereavement, or temporary health issues. If a privacy breach occurs while handling a customer's data, what must the service supplier do under the GICAP? A. Notify the insurer immediately. B. Attempt to fix it quietly. C. Wait to see if the customer complains. D. Report it publicly. The correct answer is they notify the insurer immediately. Explanation. Suppliers must report privacy breaches to the insurer promptly so they can assess whether it is reportable under the Notifiable Data Breaches Scheme. Under the Privacy Act 1988, customer information should only be accessed on what basis? A. business-wide transparency. B. Need to know. C. Casual convenience. D. Marketing potential. The correct answer is B. Need to know explanation. Access to sensitive data must be limited to staff who require it to perform their specific job roles. This need to know principle is aligned with the Australian privacy principles and GICIP's expectation for secure information handling. What is the appropriate action when a customer with limited literacy is struggling to understand documentation? A. Send an interpreter without notice. B. Decline to proceed with the service. C. Assume they will ask questions if confused. D. Offer verbal explanation or alternative communication methods. The correct answer is D. Offer verbal explanation or alternative communication methods. Explanation. Under the GICIP, if a customer has a language or literacy barrier, service suppliers must adapt communication methods accordingly, such as by explaining information clearly or providing support services. Which example represents an ongoing vulnerability under the GICIP? A. A customer experiencing temporary financial hardship. B. A customer dealing with a short illness. C. A customer who is grieving a recent loss. D. A customer with permanent cognitive impairment. The correct answer is D. A customer with permanent cognitive impairment. Explanation. Ongoing vulnerabilities are permanent or long-term in nature, such as physical or cognitive disabilities. These conditions require sustained care and tailored service. When acting on behalf of an insurer, what privacy obligation applies to the service supplier? A. Optional compliance with Australian privacy principles. B. The same standards as the insurer under the Privacy Act. C. No privacy obligations. D. Reduced standards as a third party. The correct answer is B. The same standards as the insurer under the Privacy Act. Explanation. Service suppliers must comply with the Privacy Act 1988 and uphold the same standards as the insurer regarding the collection, handling, and sharing of customer data. What should a supplier do when disposing of sensitive customer data? A. Archive it indefinitely. B. Encrypt and upload to shared folders. C. Move it to personal storage. D. Dispose of it securely. The correct answer is D. Dispose of it securely. Explanation. Once sensitive data is no longer needed, it must be securely destroyed or de-identified, preventing any unauthorized access or breaches. Which of the following customer characteristics could signal the need for tailored service under the GICIP? A. Extensive claim history. B. Limited English proficiency. C. Lack of a driver's license. D. Young age. The correct answer is B. Limited English proficiency. Explanation. Customers who face language barriers are considered vulnerable under the GICIP. Service suppliers must tailor their communication to ensure these customers can fully understand and engage with the insurance process. Under the General Insurance Code of Practice, how should a service supplier handle delays in scheduled repairs or assessments? A. Notify only the insurer if delays are expected. B. Wait until the customer contacts them before providing updates. C. Immediately notify the customer of the delay and explain the reasons. D. Reschedule the work without informing the customer. The correct answer is C. Immediately notify the customer of the delay and explain the reasons. Explanation. Service suppliers are required under the GICIP to inform customers promptly when there are delays in meeting scheduled service delivery timelines, such as repairs or assessments. They must also explain the reasons for the delay and keep the customer updated, ensuring transparency and upholding trust. What is expected of service suppliers regarding performance audits conducted by insurers? A. They may refuse to participate if the audit is not scheduled in advance. B. They are required to participate and provide full cooperation. C. They can assign another supplier to attend on their behalf. D. Participation is optional and at the supplier's discretion. The correct answer is B. They are required to participate and provide full cooperation. Explanation. According to GICIP, service suppliers must actively participate in performance monitoring, including audits and reviews carried out by the insurer. These help ensure service delivery meets expected standards of quality and timeliness. Refusal or failure to cooperate can be seen as a breach of code obligations. What qualifies as a complaint under the General Insurance Code of Practice? A. A formal legal claim against the service provider. B. A verbal threat to report the supplier to the Ombudsman. C. Any expression of dissatisfaction where a response or resolution is expected. D. Only written statements that include the word complaint. The correct answer is C. Any expression of dissatisfaction where a response or resolution is expected. Explanation. Under GICIP, a complaint is defined as any expression of dissatisfaction, regardless of format, where a response or resolution is expected. Service suppliers must be trained to identify such complaints even if the word complaint isn't used. What should a service supplier do if a customer complaint involves complex issues that exceed their scope? A. Try to resolve it using their own judgment. B. Refer the complaint to the internal dispute resolution team of the insurer. C. Ignore the complaint if it seems unreasonable. D. Forward the complaint to another customer. The correct answer is B. Refer the complaint to the internal dispute resolution team of the insurer. Explanation. Service suppliers must not attempt to resolve complex complaints independently. Instead, they are required to escalate such matters to the insurer's team to ensure fair handling and compliance with code obligations. What responsibility do service suppliers have regarding their professional training and certifications? A. They must renew certifications only when requested by the insurer. B. They must maintain current training and certifications at all times. C. Training is optional unless stated in the contract. D. They only need to be trained once at the start of the contract. The correct answer is B. They must maintain current training and certifications at all times. Explanation. Service suppliers are expected to keep all relevant certifications and training up to date, ensuring they are capable of delivering high-quality services aligned with code requirements. A service supplier acts on behalf of an insurer. What standard must they meet when interacting with customers? A. Refer all customer queries directly to the insurer. B. Avoid using the insurer's name in communications. C. Represent the insurer with professionalism and integrity. D. Match the behavior of other suppliers in the industry. The correct answer is C. Represent the insurer with professionalism and integrity. Explanation. Service suppliers are expected to act as representatives of the insurer and must conduct themselves in a professional, ethical, and courteous manner. This includes following the insurer's policies and code-related procedures to ensure consistent and respectful customer experience. What constitutes a breach of the General Insurance Code of Practice by a service supplier? A. Delaying a repair due to supply chain issues. B. Failing to respond to a customer complaint appropriately. C. Referring a complex case to the insurer's team. D. Requesting an extension on report submission. The correct answer is B. Failing to respond to a customer complaint appropriately. Explanation. Failing to respond to a complaint properly, such as ignoring it or not escalating it when required, is considered a code breach. Breaches can impact both contractual obligations and the service supplier's professional standing. If a breach of the GICIP occurs, what action may the insurer take against a service supplier? A. Send a warning without any further consequences. B. Immediately refer the case to a government ombudsman. C. Take disciplinary action or terminate the contract. D. Reassign the supplier to another region. The correct answer is C. Take disciplinary action or terminate the contract. Explanation. When a breach of code obligations occurs, the insurer may impose disciplinary actions, which can include terminating the service supplier's contract and may affect their reputation or future business opportunities. When working with customers, how should service suppliers manage customer expectations related to service timeframes? A. Avoid discussing timeframes to reduce liability. B. Only discuss timeframes when directly asked by the customer. S. Let the insurer handle all communication. D. Clearly communicate and adhere to agreed timeframes. The correct answer is D. Clearly communicate and adhere to agreed timeframes. Explanation. Service suppliers must set realistic expectations by clearly communicating agreed upon repair, assessment, or reporting timeframes. If delays occur, the supplier is responsible for notifying the customer promptly and explaining the cause, maintaining transparency and trust. What is the first step a service supplier should take when a customer expresses dissatisfaction? A. Recognize it as a potential complaint and respond appropriately. B. Forward it to the insurer's legal team. C. Ignore the issue unless it is in writing. D. Offer immediate financial compensation. The correct answer is A. Recognize it as a potential complaint and respond appropriately. Explanation. Under the General Insurance Code of Practice, GICIP, any expression of dissatisfaction from a customer must be treated as a potential complaint, even if it's not formally labeled as one. Service suppliers should acknowledge, record, and escalate the issue appropriately.